Hello, Archie Dunlop here with Talking Astrology with Archie. In this video, I'm going to be looking at the week starting on Monday, March the 24th, 2025. And I will begin with a preview of the week's astrological events. So I'll be going over the main events very quickly, and this will, set the scene for my videos next week, where I'll be going into these events in much greater detail. And having looked at these events, I will be considering the recent fire at Heathrow Airport. Well, it wasn't exactly at Heathrow Airport, it was somewhere close. I think it was called Hayes, somewhere like Hayes around there. It's one of these places that's close, and I think there was some substation which was important to the functioning of Heathrow Airport in terms of the power. And so Heathrow Airport was closed for much of Friday. And so, one has to ask the question, what was going on astrologically? So I'm going to look at the chart for when that fire was reported to see if there's anything interesting, because there is some stuff going on there of interest. And I'm going to finish this video with an I Ching reading for the week. But, first of all, let's look at what's happening astrologically. So here is a chart for the beginning of the week. Midnight, March the 24th, set for New York. And we can see that there are two planets retrograde. We've got Mercury and Venus are retrograde. And so, that is relatively unusual, and they are conjunct the Sun. And so there seems to be an Aries emphasis in this chart. But this Aries emphasis is not going to last long, because Venus and Mercury are going to move out of Aries into Pisces, and that's perhaps one of the main changeovers taking place this week. Now, as far as a blow-by-blow account is concerned, on Monday the 24th, the Sun makes a conjunction to Mercury, because the Sun never goes retrograde. Mercury is going retrograde, so they come together. And you could say that Mercury is at a position of peak weakness there, because Mercury is not just retrograde, it's combust, conjunct the Sun, and the position of Mercury has been deteriorating, and this might be as bad as it gets. And while this conjunction is happening, Mercury is moving towards a quintile of Jupiter. So I think it's on Wednesday there's a quintile to Jupiter, and that quintile to Jupiter may not be such a bad thing. Mercury quintile Jupiter can be about ideas. So sort of middle of a week, we might have ideas. We might believe that something really is possible. Quintiles are aspects that astrologers don't often use, but I think they can be important. And next week I will be considering what that Mercury quintile Jupiter might mean. Then on Thursday, Venus moves into Pisces. So in the last half of the week, we're going to have Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces, Venus in Pisces. So we thought the Pisces season is over, but no, it's coming back into life. And Venus in Pisces is not such a bad thing, because Venus is exalted in Pisces. So Venus's position actually strengthens by moving into Pisces. Okay, Venus might be retrograde, but when it's in Pisces, it gets away from that combustion with the Sun, and it moves into the sign of its exaltation. So in terms of Venus matters, relationships, art, beauty, aesthetics, this movement back into Pisces by Venus, may actually be quite a good thing. Then the end of the week, we've got a partial eclipse. So Saturday the 29th, we've got partial eclipse in Aries. In other words, we've got a full moon, new moon. So new moon represents a new lunar cycle. And the moon will, of course, be waxing. And, of course, when the moon is waxing, things often get better. But when the moon is waxing, it tends to have a benefic influence. When it's waning, it is more malefic. I mean, this is a broad generalization, but I think that is something to look forward to, this new moon. Then on Sunday, Mercury moves into Pisces, and Mercury makes a conjunction to Neptune, and Neptune goes into Aries. So Sunday is a really busy day. Now, Neptune going into Aries is an incredibly big deal. I mean, it doesn't stay in Aries. It is an outer planet. It does retrograde in and out of Aries, goes back into Pisces, then Aries into Aries over the next couple of years. But that is a big change, and I don't even really want to start to talk about Neptune moving into Aries. I am going to try to have a separate video coming out over the next few days where I discuss Neptune in Aries. This is something I have been thinking about a lot, and one thing about Neptune in Aries is that I think that it is really another nail in the coffin of wokeness. Neptune in Pisces was very much about the final blast of wokeness and compassion, over-compassion, and diversity, the obsession with diversity, the obsession with other people's suffering. But that was all about Neptune in Pisces. And so in many respects, what Neptune means in Aries is really the fact that it's no longer in Pisces, regardless of what it means for Neptune to be in Aries. But I'm going to try really hard to come up with a separate video for Neptune in Aries, because I think it really is important. And Mercury moving into Pisces. Normally one thinks Mercury moving into Pisces is a bad thing, because Mercury in Pisces is in its detriment, it's fallen, it is really the worst place, the worst sign for Mercury to be in. But Jupiter is in Gemini. So Jupiter is in the sign of Mercury. Jupiter's in a sign ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is in Pisces, will be in Pisces, which is a sign ruled by Jupiter. So Mercury and Jupiter are going to be in mutual reception. So actually, I think Mercury moving into Pisces is going to be a good thing. I think it may make us more optimistic, because it's going to strengthen Jupiter. And I think we need some Jupiter right now, because as far as I can see, there is a lot of pessimism flying around. So I don't think that's anything to be afraid of. Mercury does, by the way, make a conjunction to Neptune, so that sort of adds to the chaos, especially with Neptune moving into Aries. So looking at the week overall, there is a lot going on, and a lot of changes. And I will try to go into those changes in detail in my videos over the coming week. I now want to briefly look at the Heathrow fire. So here is the horoscope of the Heathrow fire. And so this happened, I believe, in a substation. It was somewhere like Hayes. Hayes is one of those places which is close to Heathrow. And I think it's on the underground. I think so. I'm not sure. Is it? I don't know. If you look at a map of West London, the West London rail system, you'll find Hayes. And so this is the time when the fire brigade were called, and it was quite a fire. I don't believe anyone was injured, and Heathrow is now up and running again. But it did catch the news for a time. And if we take 11:23 p.m. as the key moment, Uranus was on the descendant. So Uranus on the descendant is a signature of events, explosions, earthquakes, attacks, and attacks. Well, of course, some people have been suggesting that it was the Russians that did it. I mean, that probably suggests how paranoid we're all getting, at least how paranoid people are in the UK. Anything to stir up Russophobia. I somehow don't think it was the Russians, but still, Uranus on a descendant might indicate an attack, but there are other ways of looking at it. Not surprisingly, Mercury is retrograde. So you would expect when Mercury was retrograde to see these kinds of disruptions. It's just standard Mercury. And also Saturn is on the IC here, so you get the picture of just things just slowing down. And additionally, if we look at the midpoints of the Sun is on the Mercury-Saturn midpoint. So Saturn and Mercury are both about 7 degrees from the Sun. So you've got Mercury-Saturn as a pair is, or can be, delayed communications or disrupted communication. So Sun on the Mercury-Saturn midpoint, that kind of fits quite well with the idea of a fire causing disruption, causing massive chaos. And Heathrow is a busy airport, so if it closed down for most of Friday, that did inconvenience a huge amount of people. But I think that's about it. I don't think I want to go into any more detail about this fire. In the end, it was sorted out. It wasn't a big disaster. Neptune was on at 29 Pisces. I mean, this may say something about the UK. The UK has its moon at 29 Pisces. If you go for the 1066 chart, the coronation of William I on December, Christmas Day, 1066 at noon. If you go for that chart, moon's at 29 Pisces. Neptune is on Britain's moon. Okay, it was England's moon in 1066, but I think that the UK has kind of inherited that 1066 chart, and it may say something about the general state of this country, or sorry, not maybe this country. I'm not in Britain, but it's rather the state of England, the state of the UK, and it doesn't seem to be good. And maybe the Heathrow fire is just symbolic of it all. So what I want to do now is finish with the I Ching. So I am now going to look at the week ahead from the viewpoint of the I Ching. Just a reminder, this I Ching reading only applies to you if you are watching the I Ching section of this video. So if you don't want your I Ching read, you don't have to watch any more of a video. And this reading has 4 sections. I have a general section, then money, then career and business, and finally relationships. So I asked the question, what is the week starting on Monday, March the 24th, 2025 going to be like for those watching the I Ching section of this video? And the first hexagram I got was youthful folly. And this hexagram is problematic. So remember, this what I'm doing now is I'm just doing a general interpretation of the I Ching hexagrams. Then I'll go into detail about the specific sections later on. So the problem with youthful folly as a hexagram is that it does indicate or suggest that maybe the I Ching should not have been consulted, that somehow you already know, and you're just wasting your time, you're wasting the I Ching's time. And so my advice might be to you, if you're watching this, is to just stop watching now. The I Ching is telling you to go away. You know the answer. So if you have an issue that you're coming into this I Ching with, something you're concerned about, something you want answers with, the I Ching is probably saying you know already. You don't have to be told, and just stop wasting your time. So to be honest and objective, I probably would suggest that you stop watching this video now. But if you want to continue watching this video, then youthful folly represents a situation where you don't necessarily fully know what you're doing. It may just be about inexperience. You've taken something on, maybe you've taken on too much, or you've got the wrong attitude and you're not treating something seriously enough. The Wilhelm translation of the I Ching, it says that he who plays with life never amounts to much. And that especially relates to the bottom line. And the bottom line does move, and the fifth line moves. And with the bottom line moving, there is something about your approach to the matter at hand, the matter that bothers you, the matter that isn't an issue. It may just be your general approach at the moment. It could be that is somewhat childish. You're not taking it seriously enough. You have a certain enthusiasm, but it's not serious, and you're not being as focused as you should be. And if you persist with this approach, then it's absolutely possible that things will go wrong. And then the fifth line moves. The fifth line does indicate that you continue with a rather childish approach, and there is this excitement there, but again, you're not experienced enough in the matter at hand, and because of that, there is some danger of things going wrong, and it may just be about your inexperience. But if you are prepared to get advice, and advice is certainly available, then it does seem that you can get over the problem. Just do take yourself seriously. Ask yourself, what needs to be done, and recognize your folly. I mean, we've all got folly at some level, but try to be honest with yourself. And then this hexagram, it does move because we've got two moving lines, and it moves to hexagram 61, which is inner truth. And that is a very different hexagram, but it's a hexagram that in a way naturally flows from youthful folly. We get it. We finally get it. We finally realize where we've gone wrong, and that is inner truth. And if you look at the hexagram for inner truth, it's got that empty heart, and there are the two middle lines, and there's an emptiness there, and that emptiness, it represents a lack of ego, that we can put aside our ego, wanting to be right, wanting to have fun, whatever we want, and we can be open to advice. And in many cases, in inner truth, it may be about following someone else's lead and having the humility to follow someone's lead. Okay, it may not be someone else physically, it may be the lead of a principle that we have. We've maybe got some memory of some authority figure. In sort of Freudian astrology, maybe it's the superego. We know what's right, and we can get to that truth. And so this week, in general, is a learning experience, and if we're honest with ourselves and we know where we've gone wrong, and we know where we're making mistakes, then we should be okay. Turning to money, youthful folly, that really does indicate, certainly at the beginning of a week, that there is a danger of making financial mistakes. And that means that you have to be very careful about making financial decisions, because you maybe don't know what you're doing, and you just have a lightness maybe which is inappropriate. I mean, by the way, I should say I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for entertainment purposes only, so don't do anything financially of consequence just as a result of what I say. But with youthful folly, there is just a danger that there may be some financial matter that is important, but you don't take it seriously. You think it's light, this can happen. With investment, you say, oh, well, I'll invest in that. That's fine. I'm not going to take it seriously. Just do it. And it's a very easy thing to do. And you just press a button now, don't you? You can do all sorts of things. You press a button and you've made a huge commitment. So it's that kind of thing that you may have to be careful. Again, I'm not making investment advice. I'm not suggesting you should invest in anything or not invest in anything. I'm just looking at it from an I Ching perspective, from entertainment purposes only. But just don't take your own finances too lightly. When people make financial demands, don't take it lightly. Do consider the consequences of what you're doing in a financial sense, because it does matter. And yeah, if you are not serious enough about money, then you could get yourself into trouble. And then the fifth line moves, and again you are reminded of your inexperience in a particular financial matter, just something you don't fully get. And if you realize that you're inexperienced, and I think you may well realize that you're inexperienced, you just don't have the knowledge, and that you maybe need to get some advice, some neutral advice from someone who hasn't got a vested interest. If you're prepared to listen to what someone else says, then that might be the way forward. And this hexagram transitions to inner truth, and inner truth is about understanding it finally. So what you don't want to be in a situation where you understand a financial reality but only having made a financial mistake. And I think that is the problem with financial education, is that the best teacher financially is the emotional experience of having made a financial mistake. And by the time you've made the mistake and learnt from the mistake, well, it's too late. You've lost some money, and that's not how it should be. And so hopefully you can get to inner truth, really understand the situation financially before you've made a mistake. So that would indicate that certainly at the beginning of a week, you should avoid committing yourself financially, avoid buying anything that's expensive. I won't say, well, avoid investing in something. Well, I'm not giving investment advice, but you maybe have to, if appropriate, consult someone who is objective, who is not, who hasn't got a vested interest in what you're doing financially. Maybe that's the right person to be talking to. Again, it depends on the situation. Not everyone is having to make investment decisions this week, but whatever the level, whether you're deciding to buy something which costs a few dollars or pounds or euros, or whether you're investing in a business, whatever it is, just have a sense of caution, and just don't rush into things, and just realize that you may not know what you're doing. And also with youthful folly, as I said in the introduction when I was doing a general reading for the youthful folly, it is sometimes saying that you really should not be consulting the I Ching anyway, because you know the answer anyway. So because you know the answer, do I have to tell you the answer? You know what you should be doing. You know what you shouldn't be doing, deep down at least. And then there is career and business. It's a similar message, youthful folly. You have ideas, there are things you want to do, and the way you carry yourself, if you're working, or some of you might not be working, and this section of a video might not be appropriate, but you just might be a little too light-hearted here. There are serious things going on at work, and in terms of your business, or if you're trying to apply for a job, you need to take things very, very seriously. This might particularly matter if you're applying for a job. So if you are applying for a job, your preparations might be insufficient, or you might regard it as being easy, obvious. You'll just walk into the job, but you have to take everything seriously. As the Wilhelm I Ching, as the Wilhelm translation of I Ching said about the bottom line, which moves, it says that he who plays with life never amounts to much. So every single aspect of your life must not be played with. So if you are applying for anything, applying for a job, do it right. Don't trivialize the thing. And if you are working, if you already have a job, be serious. That's what matters. And be aware of how you can be stupid, because stupidity can be a factor this week, and you might make mistakes because you're not taking things seriously enough. So that is a problem. And the fifth line moves, and if you can just be aware of your inexperience and be prepared to get advice. Don't just do things off your own bat because it feels easy. Who cares? You'll just go and do it, and then you'll move to the next stage. If you do it like that, then things could go wrong. So get help, get advice. If you're going to do something dramatic, then make sure everyone knows about it. You see, you might trivialize something that actually is serious relating to work, and you might think it's nothing, but it really does mean something. And then hopefully, if you do the right things, you've got two moving lines. We move to the next hexagram. We transition to hexagram number 61, and hexagram 61 is inner truth. And hopefully this is going to be saying something about the end of the week, the last half of the week, where you'll finally get it. There are a lot of things you were trying to work out in terms of your work or your business or your attempts to get a job. You were trying to work out a lot, and it wasn't clear, but then it does start to become clear. Inner truth, in a way, is the opposite of youthful folly. You get it, and you get what you need to do, and it's not about your ego. Your ego finally departs the room, and you're open to other people's advice. That's what that empty heart of this hexagram is. You are open to outside influence, but not that you're going to be negatively influenced by what's coming in from the outside. You're able to seek out people who know what they're doing, and in some cases you may have to do what you're told, but you'll do it with the right attitude because you'll know it's the right thing to do. And finally, there's relationships of all kinds, and youthful folly may indicate that you are trivializing certain relationships. You may not regard them as being important, or even if you do regard them as being important, you may regard your own behavior as not being particularly important. You can pretty much do what you like. There's no need to worry about what you do, what you don't do, what you say, what you don't say, all that kind of thing. And with this hexagram youthful folly, it is important to take yourself seriously, and it's also important to take other people seriously. So youthful folly might be about you accepting another person's behavior where you shouldn't be accepting it, not standing up for yourself. That is one manifestation of it. Youthful folly may not just be about your folly, it may be about someone else's folly. And just thinking that everything is going to be fine, that people are going to behave, that people are going to do the right thing, and they're not. And with youthful folly, as I've already said on several occasions, there is a suggestion here that you should not have been asking the I Ching, that you should not be watching this video even, because you know the answer. And if you know the answer, then you're wasting the I Ching's time by asking. So maybe you know the answer about another person, about another relationship. So, and it's just a waste of time. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I mean, that assumes that I'm in any way able to accurately interpret the message of the I Ching. So if deep down you feel that something is true about another person, but you're running away from that truth, then maybe you should accept the inevitable, whatever the inevitable might be. And for your part, when dealing with people, you've got to be serious, you've got to be upfront. This is not a time for playing games and for playing with people. So, even if we're talking about relationships like the relationship when someone calls you asking for your time and asking for you to, essentially get involved in a scam. Sorry, I've made that rather too long. In other words, scam phone calls. There's scam phone calls where someone's trying to scam you, and they're trying to scam you, and you just go along with it, and you just, sometimes when you're bored, you just keep talking because you're trying to waste their time, and you're actually wasting your time as well. But so don't play around with people, even if you feel you know what's going on. So don't have a conversation with a scam phone caller, or even a scammer who's knocking on your front door. Don't prolong things. Don't play games with people, whoever they are. Even if you think you're in complete control, don't do it. Because if you play games with people, things in the end could go wrong. Maybe you'll give away too much information. You think you're giving away nothing, but you're giving away something, and you could make a mistake. So don't take your social interactions, whatever level they are, don't take them lightly. They do have to be taken extremely seriously. And we do have the fifth line moving, and fifth line moving does talk about your inexperience. You're maybe dealing with people, or dealing with people's emotions that you haven't seen before. You don't really know how to behave. You think you know how to behave, but you get it wrong. And if you're prepared to get some advice, or to just step back and just let the situation develop without you being involved, without you making a fool of yourself, because youthful folly, in terms of other people, there is a danger that you make a fool of yourself. And then youthful folly, it does move to a different hexagram. It moves to hexagram 61, which is inner truth. And in the end, you get it. You understand what someone is all about, and you understand how to behave, and that's great. And the question is, how much damage has been done in the process of understanding? And hopefully no damage has been done at all, because youthful folly there's nothing inevitable about it. If you were careful right from the beginning, you wouldn't have embarrassed yourself, you wouldn't have compromised yourself. And by the end of a week, you'll be in a situation where you really understand other people, you understand their motives, and you understand whether you want to be having any more contact with them. And those are my forecasts for the I Ching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, I'd be very grateful if you were to like it. If you're not subscribed, I'd be super grateful if you were to subscribe. If you want to buy me a coffee, there is a link in the description, and I will talk to you again very soon.